Reaching the DJ booth, I snatched his mic and cut the music. Mic in hand, I stepped onto the stage and announced apologetically, "Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely apologize, but due to internal reasons, we must temporarily cease operations. I understand that this may disrupt your enjoyment, and on behalf of Hero, I apologize for any inconvenience." A wave of protests erupted from below, with comments like, "Whoa, Hero has a handsome new boss," another one. "Wow, this guy is way cuter than Luke Knox, he looks so innocent, what the hell." I was just starting to have some fun. I smiled and added, "I truly apologize for the inconvenience. So, tonight everything is on the house. Come back tomorrow, and I'll give you all a 50% discount." "Alright." The crowd below immediately erupted in applause. No one has a problem with free stuff. And I knew, even with a 50% discount, we'd still make a profit. Besides, special times call for special measures. Please exit in an orderly fashion. Many people started to leave, while others returned to their rooms. After all, this was a one-stop entertainment spot. Those who'd hired company didn't need to go anywhere else. The staff began dispersing the crowd. If it were just a regular police inspection, I wouldn't have needed to do this. But I couldn't be too careful. Having dealt with Daniel once, I knew how insidious he could be. Who knows what tricks he might pull. That's when it happened. Just as everyone was almost gone, 5 thuggish-looking young men started a fight with 2 others. Nobody paid much attention, brawls were common here, nothing out of the ordinary. The 2 kids were clearly outmatched, yelling, "Damn it. Did I do something to you? What's your problem?" The leader of the 5 sneered arrogantly, "Yeah, we're messing with you." "What, you got a problem with that?" I saw right away that the 5 were deliberately picking a fight. Just then, one of our bouncers ran up to me and said, "Ethan, the cops are here. They're at the door, they'll be here in less than 5 minutes." I took a deep breath, insidious. I immediately pushed through the crowd. The leader of the 5 was already laying into one of the other guys. I turned to Tyler Harris and said, "Use force, get them out of here." At that point, there was no other choice. Tyler Harris responded and charged into the crowd, followed by Mark Wallace and the others. In the blink of an eye, a full-blown brawl erupted. Our bouncers joined in, and I saw things were about to get out of control. I rushed in and saw the leader of the 5 attacking one of our bouncers. I approached him unnoticed. I quickly drew my gun, pointed it at his head, and yelled, "Everybody freeze. Pretty good, it's all our guys here, no customers." For a moment, everyone looked at me. I grinned at the leader, "Wanna mess with me? Tired of living?" Unexpectedly, this guy was gutsy, provoking me, "The new boss is a dog, what can you do to me?" Ha! I nodded to the DJ, the music blasted, I saw fear in the leader's eyes, gave him no time, shot him in the leg, the gunshot wasn't very clear amidst the loud music. The guy fell to the ground screaming, I nodded to the monkeys, then walked over to the DJ, patted his shoulder, "You know what's up." The DJ grinned, "No problem." My guys started cleaning up the scene, luckily I acted in time, nothing serious happened. I adjusted my clothes and walked out, Paul Nash following behind me. Out of the club, I saw Daniel Trent, leading 7 or 8 cops, after seeing me, he grinned wickedly. I chuckled and walked forward, Daniel Trent also laughed, "Gotta say, the kid's pretty good now, Henry Page really trusts you, letting you manage this place, he's really at ease." I laughed, shook his hand, and said, "Why wouldn't he be at ease? I'm confident I can do a good job, although I'm young, I'm proud. But then again, I'm not confident anymore, not proud anymore." Daniel Trent curiously asked, "Why do you say that?" I laughed, then told him, "Nong Rank is here to inspect my place, I'm scared. What if I get overthrown one day? No way, I'm scared, so scared." Daniel laughed heartily, "How could that be, kid, today I'm just working according to regulations, don't overthink it, come on, cooperate a little. Then he started directing the people below to search. At this moment, I stopped a cop walking in front, and said, "Hold on." Daniel's expression changed, he asked, "Hey, Ethan, what do you mean?" I pretended to be naive like a child and said, "This, young rank, do you have a search warrant?" Daniel laughed, then took a piece of paper out of his pocket and handed it to me. I took it and looked it over. Damn it, it's real. Inwardly cursing this Daniel. Damn it. So insidious, so well prepared, he really had a plan. Daniel the monkey, just call him young rank already. Daniel asked, "Is it alright now, kid?" Too lazy to pay attention to him, too insidious, luckily I'm sharp. Otherwise, I'd be screwed. Not long after, a few cops came over, whispered a few words in Daniel's ear, then Daniel suddenly turned and stared at me. I ignored him, continued discussing dinner plans with Paul Nash. "Not bad, little one, you've got some skills." I smiled, saying nothing. Daniel waved his hand, retreat. "Yes, sir." Then, a group of cops followed Daniel and left. Watching their figures disappear, Paul Nash laughingly asked me, "Hey, Ethan, do you two know each other?" I nodded. From now on, call him young rank, damn it, luckily I was thorough, invited all the customers out, otherwise he would definitely have caused trouble. Paul Nash nodded, smiling in agreement. Looking at the situation today, it's actually quite normal, but if it continues like this, it will have a huge impact on us. I think, we can't rely on Henry Page for everything. I have to find a countermeasure, at least, I have to find something for that young rank guy. I kept thinking, but couldn't think of any good way, so just take it slow, there will be a way. After Daniel left, I wandered out to the main hall of the nightclub. Only a few of our guys were there. Not long after, Monkey, Mark Wallace and the others came back. I thought for a bit, then turned to look at Paul Nash, and asked, "Where are the troublemakers from earlier? Where did they go?" Paul Nash said, "They're in the warehouse at the back, their mouths are pretty tight, our guys have been pressing them but haven't been able to get anything out of them." I laughed and said, let's go have a look, since we're free anyway, raising kids and beating kids, it's all just a game." Paul Nash and the others were pretty speechless. The warehouse is downstairs, and when I got to the warehouse, Keith Yates was waiting for me at the door. "What's up? Where are they?" Keith Yates wiped the sweat from his forehead and replied, "Damn it, I'm so pissed, I've been beating them for a while, but they still won't say who they're with, they just say they were drunk and looking for trouble. Damn it, something's fishy." I laughed heartily. Even my man Keith is stumped, so they must be some tough characters. After saying that, I walked into the warehouse. Squatting in the corner were the troublemakers from earlier. Someone might ask, why bother catching them? It's actually very simple, they caused trouble at that crucial moment. It was clearly a deliberate setup, definitely not the usual kind of trouble, even a fool can understand that. The kids all had bruised faces. It seems Keith Daniels had given them a taste of suffering. I observed for a while, and finally recognized the leader from earlier. If I didn't look closely, I really wouldn't have recognized him. I walked over and patted this kid's face. Hey. Fox, still alive?" The kid struggled to raise his head, looked at me, and suddenly laughed nonchalantly. "Damn it, aren't you done yet? If you have the guts, kill me." "Shit. I was just causing a little trouble." I chuckled. Ever since Ryan Lee's incident, since I started down this path, I've always told myself to be ruthless. Don't not admitting. No problem. Those are your words. Damn it. Did you really think this boss is a fake? I thought, I can't use ordinary methods, I must use ruthless tactics. I stood up and said, "Fine, don't talk, the proverb says it well. How does it go?" Oh. That one, a new official starts 3 fires. Yeah, that's right, that's the one. I just took office. And you're already causing trouble for me. Aren't you just looking for trouble? Damn it, so, you won't talk, right? That Paul Nash guy, investigate these guys' backgrounds for me, if they have money, rob them, if they don't have money, play with them. See if they have any younger or older sisters, bring them here, make them whores. Once a whore, always a whore. The eyes of the people around me all turned green. Paul Nash stared at me, asking, Ethan, real or fake? Real, of course. Do it. I replied without hesitation. I bent down and asked the guy, got a little sister? He didn't say anything, but his expression gave him away. I smirked inwardly. Then I continued, I've said all that needs to be said. It's up to you guys now. Looking at you, you don't seem like ordinary thugs. Sigh, if I cripple all of you, will Theo Parker be heartbroken? What do you think? I asked mockingly. The big guy's eyes were practically spitting fire. Speak up. I kicked him, right in the face. Heh, not bad, the Thai family's son-in-law is indeed no ordinary bloke. A bit of cunning, this move, though cruel, isn't quite on par with Henry Page, but it's close to Luke Knox. Not bad, a bit of cunning. But as someone who's been around the block, let me give you some real talk. I know I'm done for today. From the moment Mr. Thac told me to do this, I knew today was 9 out of 10 a dead end. But I had no choice. Mr. Thac saved me once, now my family is threatened, I had to do this. This path, it ain't easy, infinite glamour, but also turbulent undercurrents. Don't worry, you'll face the same situation as me someday. Alright, I can tell you, I am indeed Theo Parker's man. No big deal, Theo Parker and Henry Page are already at each other's throats anyway, so it doesn't matter if I say it. As for you, kid, still young, already mixed up in this, even a boss. Your end won't be any better than mine. Heh, just you wait and see. What brotherhood? What loyalty? It's all fake. Just you wait. My blood boiled. I pulled out my gun, aimed it at his head, and pulled the trigger. Watching his body fall, I suddenly felt like everything was just, meh. Maybe he was right, but I can't accept this reality. Anyone who harms my brothers, I won't let them live in peace. That's my bottom line. And in the days that followed, I continued to live in the shadow of hatred, thus living without refuge, dying without regret. The warehouse suddenly became quiet, lacking the big guy's screams, it felt somewhat disharmonious. I exhaled, looked at the remaining men, and said, I'm giving you one last day. Spill everything. Don't think I'm a kid and won't do anything. Let me tell you, if you talk, everything will be easier to handle. I don't want to do anything to your families, really, I don't. Everyone's being pressured. If you cause trouble for me, you have to think about the consequences. You're all so stupid. Theo Parker just wants to use you to test me, this newbie rich kid, and you actually came. Should I call you loyal, or should I call you stupid? Humph. After saying that, I left the warehouse. Although it wasn't my first time killing someone, a sense of guilt still rose in my heart, becoming even more terrifying in my dreams. I walked out and realized I was covered in blood, my hands too. I wiped the blood splatter from the gunshot with my shirt and put the gun away. I turned my head to look at Keith Yates and Paul Nash, they were both grinning at me. Surprised, I asked, what are you two giggling about? Keith Yates chuckled, you were born to be a mob boss. I glanced at them, stop talking nonsense, interrogate them thoroughly, ask more questions, if it really doesn't work, then use strong measures, regardless of what is called gang ethics. Actually, if I were to do this myself, I'm not sure I could. After briefly discussing a few details with Keith Yates and Paul Nash, I returned to my accommodations. My place was pretty decent, previously, it only had a computer and such, but today, someone had added some furniture. It was probably Daisy Lane who prepared it for me. Thinking about Daisy Lane gave me a headache. I sat for a while, couldn't figure it out, slapped my head, and thought, what the hell? Time to sleep. The next day, I woke up almost noon. Arriving at the office, the finance department handed me a stack of ledgers. After carefully reviewing them, I found that the income here far exceeded my expectations. According to regulations, I had to submit a report at the end of the month, so I looked up Henry Page's number and called him. Henry Page's first words upon answering were, "How did things go yesterday? Why wasn't there any trouble?" I chuckled, how else could it have gone? To be safe, I kicked everyone out. Who knows if there were any of Theo Parker's men in the crowd? Sure enough, we caught a few. Henry Page laughed heartily and said, "Damn, I was afraid you wouldn't be able to handle it. I was already prepared to clean up the mess for you. No need for you to clean up anything." Then I continued, "How are things in our district? When are you bringing William Quinn back to me? Things are getting rough here, and I lack experience. There are few people under me I can actually use, and I don't dare entrust many tasks to my subordinates. They don't respect me." Henry Page said, "Credibility is built gradually, not overnight. The reason I immediately put you in your current position, firstly, is to put some pressure on you to grow quickly. Secondly, even if I let you start from the bottom, it would still take time. In the short term, there will still be people who don't respect you. Instead of that, it's better to put you at the top. Besides, I have faith in your abilities, you just lack experience." "Is this considered ruthless?" I asked. Heh, although you're not doing badly, many things require personal experience. You're not ruthless enough yet. Just keep going. The economic zone is entrusted to you. William Quinn will be there soon, probably tomorrow. He's out on business today. Don't rush, take it slow." I pondered for a moment and replied, "All right, I understand. It's just that everything happens so fast, it's hard to accept all at once. Rest assured." I hurriedly hung up, and the phone rang again. "Hello, what's up, Keith?" Keith Yates is a few years older than me, so I still call him Keith, even though I'm the head here. I'm not the type to put on airs. We're all around the same age, and there's plenty of time. With our own people, there's no need for pretense. Ethan, the remaining guys have confessed. We also know all the strongholds in the economic zone." Keith Yates's voice was filled with excitement. He must have put in a lot of effort to extract this information. I thought for a moment, then said, "All right, I understand. Where are you now?" "I'll come right over." "Me? I'm eating at my place, private room 202 on the second floor." I hung up, both happy and muttering, "Damn, Keith Yates' dining room is kinda jinxed. Whatever, it's just in time, I haven't eaten yet." Arriving at the private room, it turned out Tyler Harris, Mark Wallace, and Paul Nash were all there. Actually, the four of them have a pretty good relationship, and their abilities aren't bad either, otherwise Adrian Grant wouldn't have recommended them to me. Seeing me enter, they all stood up to greet me, but I stopped them, saying there was no need for such formalities. They talked while eating. "What's going on? Tell me in detail," I asked. Keith Yates said, "After you dealt with the leader and pulled that stunt, someone immediately cracked. Once one confessed, there was a second. I've been interrogating them all day." I looked at Keith Yates, his eyes full of fatigue. It was definitely because of this that he hadn't rested. So I said, "Haven't you slept, Keith?" Keith Yates sighed and said, "Don't remind me. Paul Nash and I took care of the leader's body yesterday. There's no other way. It's best not to let outsiders know about this kind of thing. After all, it's a human life, the fewer people know, the better." I was suddenly touched. Actually, with their position here, they could have easily ordered their subordinates to do it, but they didn't. It was all for me. "You've worked hard, Keith, I said sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Come on, don't mention it. At this time, Tyler Harris said, Ethan, don't be like that. We're all here for you today. Back in Hero, there was Knox above, then Adrian, Tracy Matthews, and Quinn. Each of them had their own confidants, their own people. We were all just doing errands below. Now that we're out in the world, who doesn't want to make a name for themselves? With Ethan's arrival, we've got our chance. We're all following you. Paul Nash then said, that's right. We're your confidants now, so we have to do everything well and not let you lose face. Moreover, it's a sensitive time now, and the people below are all waiting to see you make a fool of yourself. We don't care if you're the Thai family's son-in-law or not. Anyway, we see you as someone capable, resourceful, and you don't put on airs with us. So, we're determined to follow you. I raised my glass and said emotionally, enough said, it's all in this drink. Mark Wallace then said, yeah, I waited for you guys to finish talking so I could down this drink and eat. The chicken's getting cold. Glutton. Tyler Harris immediately concluded. Everyone burst into laughter, then drank and ate, the cheerful atmosphere needless to say. After eating and drinking for a while, I asked, they confessed, right? I'll talk to Henry Page later and let Theo Parker pay the ransom to get his men back. If he doesn't, I'll see what he says to the rest of his subordinates. Then tonight, we'll clean up Theo Parker's secret bases in the economic zone. Heh, what happens to those guys when they get back isn't my concern anymore. The whole gang started calling me sinister, there was no other way. Regardless of the reason. Betrayal is still betrayal, unforgivable. Afterward, Paul Nash told me about these strongholds. Because this economic zone is entirely John Nine's territory, Theo Parker's men could be hiding there, doing shady things. If they show their faces, they're dead meat. After all, this economic zone isn't a place you can just waltz into. 2 strongholds are quite close to us, while the other 2 are located by the coast, Tracy Matthews's turf, and near Adrian Grant's. This shows that Theo Parker's people stationed in the economic zone are entirely targeting Henry Page. I still hadn't figured out a concrete plan, so I ate while brainstorming countermeasures. Honestly, I wasn't certain at all. What if these guys were lying? Taking action could lead to many unforeseen events. I understand this, I've read plenty of gangster novels. After much deliberation, as the meal ended, I told them, let's do it. Damn it. They looked at each other and laughed. Back at my place, I considered calling Henry Page, telling him to collect the money from Theo Parker. But on second thought, I decided against it. I'll tell him when my plan is officially in motion. Moreover, I'm afraid of alerting the enemy. If Henry Page calls Theo Parker demanding money, it'll be a disaster. Even a fool would become wary. Most importantly, I must be the one to collect this money. Yes, me. I can't let Henry Page take advantage. After some thought, how can I support my brothers without money? Back in the office, I meticulously studied and reconsidered the strategic arrangements. For strongholds in total, I don't have many people I can trust. I can't just rely on Keith Yates and his 4 men to raid these strongholds. I'm not confident, and I can't do that. I know the gravity of this, so I decisively called Adrian Grant and Tracy Matthews. By the time they arrived, it was almost evening. They had even more work than I did. After all, things aren't peaceful now, so they have to handle many things themselves, making them incredibly busy. I called them to the office and got straight to the point, no beating around the bush. I said, Tracy Matthews, Adrian, you both know about last night, right? Tracy Matthews said, yeah, we know. You handled it well. We can't be careless at a time like this. I nodded and said, here's the thing. There's something you 2 might not know. After I invited those people out, some troublemakers showed up. I knew those troublemakers were definitely Theo Parker's men, trying to cause trouble for us. We had to work hard to uncover Theo Parker's base in the economic zone. What? Adrian Grant exclaimed in surprise. What are you saying? You know the base? We've been investigating where Theo Parker's people are hiding. Not just us, but little Lawrence, John 9's spokesperson, is also investigating. They're like us, they don't want Theo Parker to remain so mysterious. Then I said, this is easy to explain. The people we interrogated weren't ordinary thugs. They were definitely highly disciplined and organized individuals. I could see that. They were tight-lipped. If I hadn't used special methods, they wouldn't have talked. Tracy Matthews rested her chin in her hand, pensively saying, how about we approach this? I understand what you're saying, you want to take the offensive, right? I nodded, constantly being on the defensive isn't a long-term solution. It's too passive. We can't guarantee everything will go as planned. Even though we're already cautious, there's always the risk of unforeseen circumstances. This isn't good. Tracy Matthews said, but there's still a flaw. You're right, but have you considered whether this reported information is reliable? Could it be Theo Parker intentionally leaking information, waiting for us to fall into a trap? I said with a smile, so, Tracy Matthews, what do you think? I've considered this too, so we have to take a gamble. If we win, we can completely drive Theo Parker out of the economic zone. While it might not cause him heavy losses, it'll be enough to hurt him. So, I'm still in favor of striking. Both of them fell silent, quietly pondering there, then asked me about the specific locations of these strongholds, which I had marked on a detailed map on the computer. Adrian Grant, who had been observing from the side, spoke up. No, that's too risky. Look, not to mention the other strongholds, just take my tourist area stronghold. It's too difficult to handle. It's in a bustling area with lots of tourists. They could easily blend in disguised as tourists. Plus, we don't even know the specific rooms. What's going on? I said, their people said that since most of them pose as tourists, their rooms are constantly changing. Adrian Grant shook his head, firmly stating, no, that's too risky. This stronghold is one of the four most uncertain. We can't use a conventional attack. It simply won't work. I nodded, then said, I know. That's why I called you both here, to see how we should deal with this stronghold. After all, you two have more experience in this area than I do. I'm thinking we ignore this stronghold and simultaneously attack the other three. Surround the point and attack the reinforcements. I don't believe the people in this stronghold won't come out. When they do, we'll have a solution. Theo Parker's forces in the economic zone can't compare to ours. That's our advantage. We're just hoping they come out. As long as they do, we're not afraid of him. I rattled off this long speech, but unexpectedly, after I finished, the two of them were silent at first, then started laughing similarly. As soon as they laughed, I became bewildered. What was wrong with these two? Hey, hey. What are you two laughing at? What's so funny? After I said that, they still ignored me, making me even more annoyed. I put my hands on my hips, watching what they were going to do. I just kept looking at them. They laughed for a while and then stopped, but both stared at me. Damn it. Just as I was about to get angry, Adrian Grant spoke up, Look, Ethan Thomas, we understand you're under pressure, but you can't do this. Your idea isn't bad, but it's a bit rash. How should I put it? Your strategy could succeed and achieve good results, but have you considered whether we dare to take such a gamble? I don't mean anything else, just a reminder. Such a hasty decision isn't rational. If something happens to our brothers, won't you feel remorseful? Think carefully. We can't be so reckless. First, send someone to investigate thoroughly. After confirming, we'll discuss countermeasures together to ensure safety. What do you think? I carefully considered Adrian Grant's words. Indeed, I've been a bit hasty. I'm truly impatient. I must earn my subordinates' respect, otherwise it will really affect a lot of things. Right now, at Hero, there are still many people who don't greet me. Although it's a small detail, I can see the disdain in their eyes. They think I'm just a student who got here through connections. That's not what I want. I exhaled and sighed. All right, I admit I'm being rash. I'll investigate this matter thoroughly, and then we'll decide. Adrian Grant smiled approvingly and said, Good, it's good that you can think it through. Be careful. Although bloodshed is unavoidable, we don't want our brothers to die because of our carelessness, right? Don't let yourself have regrets. I nodded silently. Tracy Matthews then said, I'm gradually understanding Henry Page's decision. You're truly worthy of his recommendation. I understand Henry Page. If you were incompetent, he wouldn't care whether you were the Thai family's son-in-law or not, especially since that's not even certain yet. Good job, I'm very optimistic about you. Be careful, you're the boss now, it's not just about you. Doing whatever you say isn't what a good boss does. You're too impatient now. You have to consider a lot of things, the responsibility is heavy. Good job, I'm very optimistic about you. I looked up and smiled, it's nothing. Both of them laughed. Tracy Matthews chuckled and said, We don't consider you an outsider either. We sincerely want to help you. We vetoed your decision without any other intentions, so don't overthink it. I laughed and scolded, Damn, you treat me like a kid who doesn't understand anything. Everyone laughed. Then Adrian Grant said, No matter how difficult this matter is, it's ultimately a good thing. Ethan, in the next 2 days, send someone to investigate these places, and take Tyler Harris with you. That kid is quite the sly one. I smiled and nodded. Adrian Grant suddenly switched to calling me Ethan. Perhaps it's an affirmation of me, showing that they truly consider me one of their own. This feeling, it's like having motivation, warmth. Tracy Matthews then told me about many detailed issues. I have to admit, Tracy Matthews is indeed a seasoned veteran in his 30s, truly experienced. Afterwards, I kept them for dinner before they left. As it turned out, Tracy Matthews said he had a shipment to receive today, and Adrian Grant had to go check on the bar. Evening is the golden time for the tourist area, they really can't do without him. So, I had to let it go. I saw them out, then went back to check on the bar. Nothing out of the ordinary, quite normal, in fact. I checked the accounts on the computer. Sure enough, even though I just transferred the due amount to Henry Page today, there's still over $6 million in my account, not to mention the money from selling medicine at the bar. I couldn't help but sigh. It's only been a few days, how did I suddenly become a millionaire? This money, except for a small bonus for the boys below, is all mine. They have a base salary, but they couldn't find me. These earnings are irregular income, so for the regular salaries of the security guys, they still have to go to Daisy Lane for their normal income management. The next day, I was still dreaming someone was trying to kill me, and I ran for my life, a whole crowd chasing after me. I got pissed, roared, and soared into the sky, flying over hundreds of rivers, looking back and laughing at them, like, damn, you want to catch me? While I was lost in thought, a knock came at the door. I sleepily opened my eyes, annoyed as hell, couldn't even get a peaceful sleep. Holding back my anger, wearing only my boxers, I opened the door, and seeing the person outside, I instantly snapped awake. Daisy Lane was standing at the door. Seeing how I looked, she first blushed, then coughed. I was super awkward, just standing there, not knowing what to do. Shouldn't you put some clothes on first? I jolted awake, hurried back to the bed, and put on some pants. Daisy Lane was amused by my actions. After coming in, she said jokingly, "Ethan Thomas, look at the time, you're still sleeping." I glanced at the clock, it was just past 8. What's the big deal? Why should I get up so early? I'm not some office worker, working 9 to 5 every day. What brings you here today? Upon hearing this, Daisy Lane immediately became incredibly indignant. Seriously, it's still about my car. Do you really have to be like this? It's just a small thing, do you need to avoid me? I haven't seen you all day, acting like some big shot. How am I supposed to respect you like this? I couldn't help but laugh inwardly. I wasn't avoiding her, I just hadn't gone back to the office, hadn't gone back to my room yet, and she already thought I was avoiding her. So you're blocking my door today? Daisy Lane blushed, then said, I was annoyed that you were sleeping this late, so I couldn't help but come in and flip your blankets. Her sassy demeanor made me laugh. I watched her, standing there silently, tracing something on the floor with her high heels. I thought for a moment, you're a big boss, and you're whining to me. Do you really have to be like this? Daisy Lane immediately denied it. Big boss, my foot. I'm just an employee too, making a little over $10,000 a month. Where would I get the money to fix my car? If you don't have the money to fix it, then how are you going to fix it? And it's a BMW, no less. Henry Page gave it to me as a year-end bonus. The pretty girl spoke eloquently, and it wasn't entirely unrealistic. I've been observing her these past 2 days, and she's actually quite capable. She only acts like this in front of me. In her normal work, she transforms into the image of a beautiful female boss, dealing with officials and clients, handling everything skillfully. I thought for a bit, well, her situation isn't great either. Who knows how much fear she harbors towards this world despite her current lively and adorable demeanor. I guess Henry Page had the same thought as me. After all, not many bosses would gift a car worth several $100,000 to a female subordinate. Of course, there are bosses who keep mistresses. Alright, I agree with you about the car, but I'll only give you $100,000. Figure out the rest yourself. You know, this is a crucial period, and finances aren't exactly overflowing. Daisy Lane immediately brightened. Really? Are you serious? I smiled and nodded. Of course, I am. Why would I lie to you? Daisy Lane instantly leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and said, You're the best, handsome. I immediately froze. Seeing me stunned, Daisy Lane chuckled. It's nothing. Just a kiss. Don't overthink it. And no fantasizing about me when you're lonely at night. I was speechless. This gorgeous woman was truly beyond words, unbearable. After I washed my face, Daisy Lane and I went to the bank at the entrance to transfer the money. Looking at the little beauty, why did I feel like I'd been scammed? Oh well, the money's spent anyway. Looking at Daisy Lane, even if I regretted it now, I couldn't get it back. Daisy Lane returned to the office, and I took out my phone and called Tyler Harris. Hello, who is this? What the hell do you want, bothering me this early? Seriously, who talks to their boss like that? Get your ass down here and eat. We've got things to do. Tyler Harris jolted awake. Boss? Damn, I'm on my way. Yeah, and bring Paul Nash and Tommy Stone too. It's not early morning anymore, it's practically noon. What kind of bad habit is this? Actually, if Daisy Lane hadn't woken me up, I'd have the same bad habit. Soon, Tyler Harris and the others arrived. We got another private room, and everyone started smoking and chatting amicably. I gradually adapted to this life. Tyler Harris, despite his gangster appearance, was actually a generous guy. Tommy Stone seemed goofy, but he knew what was going on and was meticulous in his work. Paul Nash and Keith Yates had similar personalities, both the quiet, hard-working type, and very capable. Most importantly, they were trustworthy. This wasn't my conclusion, since I'd only known them for a few days, but Henry Page and the others valued them highly. Yesterday, Luke Knox even asked me for Keith Yates and Paul Nash. Dream on. Then Luke Knox angrily said he'd beat me up next time he saw me. As if I'm scared of him. I'll just avoid him next time. I digressed. We were eating and talking. Yesterday, I discussed it with you Gu and the others. To be safe, we decided to do some reconnaissance first. I don't dare use the guys under me, so we'll go ourselves later, split into teams. Tyler Harris, Tommy Stone, and I will take care of the 2 strongholds near us. Paul Nash and Keith Yates, you 2 will scout the tourist area and the coastal stronghold. Be careful and maintain secrecy. Also, because the tourist area is complex, just do a simple observation, don't go too deep, and don't stir up trouble. Got it? They replied in unison, got it. I roared with laughter, good. Let's eat. That evening, I decided against investigating Theo Parker's men just yet. It was dark, which would make things difficult, so I told Little Monkey to wait until tomorrow. In the evening, Daisy Lane cheerfully invited me to dinner. I smiled and agreed. After all, no man would refuse dinner with a beautiful woman, especially one who could be so helpful to me professionally. If she held a grudge and refused to cooperate, I'd lose more than I'd gain. That's why I willingly gave her 10,000. Hero KTV had been closed for 2 days, and this couldn't continue. So, I decided to reopen it. I couldn't keep it closed because of Daniel. I knew that wasn't a long-term solution. I reopened, but I also cleaned house, kicking out the drug dealers. As for the girls, I told them to tone it down for now. I left this to Keith Yates and Paul Nash. They were capable and trustworthy. As I was leaving, I reminded them to collect rent from the dealer spots. I inwardly rejoiced at the extra income. After the cleanup, the club was much cleaner. The depravity was gone, replaced by energy and vibrancy pulsing with the music. Looking at the crowd, I saw a bunch of young people brimming with life. I sat in a corner with Little Monkey, drinking and watching the dancers. In the flashing lights, I suddenly felt less like myself and more like a successful young man. I asked Little Monkey, "Where's Tommy Stone? Haven't seen him around." Little Monkey lit a cigarette, offered me one, and sighed. "He's over at the sauna. There's one of Gregory Parks's guys over there, what's his name?" "Oh yeah, Kyle Cole. A real lek, he's got his eye on some of our girls. He's pretty influential under Gregory Parks." When Tommy left, he said, "Ethan's too busy to deal with this, and besides, we can't have the Thai family's son-in-law entertaining clients and picking up girls." I laughed. Damn, he clearly can't control himself and he's blaming it on me. How can I even begin to express my contempt for him? Just then, one of our waiters came up to us. "Ethan, Mr. Oy is here." I was immediately delighted. William Quinn's arrival was perfectly timed. This would make my plan to take down Theo Parker in the economic zone even smoother. I quickly asked, "Where is he?" "He's in the restaurant up front. He said he hasn't eaten yet and asked if you have. If not, he wants to have a few drinks with you." I laughed. "I've eaten, but I'll still have a few drinks with him." With that, I dragged Little Monkey to the restaurant. Hero's full-service setup was really convenient. No need to go outside. Come to think of it, I hadn't left the place in days. We reached the restaurant, asked the staff which room he was in, and then headed to William Quinn's private room. William Quinn was sitting with 3 young men. I recognized them from previous encounters, but I didn't know their names. Seeing me enter, they all greeted me. I chuckled, "No need for formalities, it's not like we're meeting for the first time." One of them grinned back, "It's different now, you're the big boss's big boss, your status has changed." I shot him a look, "Are you saying I'm a hen that's flown up to the Holly Phoenix branch?" The whole group burst into laughter. The atmosphere was great. William Quinn pulled me down to sit, and I looked at him, like, "Hey oi, what are you doing, wearing sunglasses so late at night?" "These are sunglasses, not night vision goggles." William Quinn took off his glasses and pointed to his eye. I then saw that the corner of his eye was slightly swollen. No wonder he was wearing sunglasses. This injury really affected his pure and elegant image. Yes, just the image. His inner self wasn't pure at all. It didn't seem like a serious injury, so I patted William Quinn's shoulder and asked, "What happened?" William Quinn winced when I patted his shoulder. I asked blankly, "What's wrong?" "You patted my injury." I frowned and asked, "How did this happen?" "If you're injured, you should rest, why come to me?" At this moment, the person next to him chimed in, "Didn't we pass by the edge of town yesterday?" Cough, cough. William Quinn interrupted him, glaring, and the guy immediately shut up in fear. Seeing that, I didn't press further. After all, with some things, it's better to know less. Isn't there a saying, even among fellow disciples, the mouth can be a source of disaster? William Quinn explained, "We had a few fights with Theo Parker's men 2 days ago. I heard from Tracy Matthews that you discovered Theo Parker's secret coastal base. I've already informed Henry Page. Compared to that, this is more important, so I came here. This is crucial, let me tell you, in the county town, our situation is dire, your news is like a lifesaver. We can't be careless." I nodded and said, "Initially, I planned to deal with him right away, but then Tracy Matthews and Mr. Knack stopped me. I was indeed too hasty at the time." William Quinn smiled approvingly, "Yes, well done. A little more training and you'll be there. You have a good head on your shoulders, mature enough among your peers, but still not steady enough. You'll get better with time." I chuckled, "With great bosses like you guys guiding me, I'm confident." "That's because you're understanding. If it were someone else, they might not even give us the time of day." The guy chimed in again. I noticed that he really liked to interrupt, but his martial arts were pretty good, I'd witnessed it before. William Quinn smacked him on the head, "Damn it, you're everywhere. Don't you remember?" Everyone roared with laughter, and seeing the guy's aggrieved look made me laugh my guts out. Gradually, I learned that the guy's name was Grant Soai. Tyler Harris called him How Soai. Their personalities were similar, and as a result, Tyler Harris found common ground with him, so they became sworn brothers. Tyler Harris even invited Grant Soai to his room for late-night discussions, making me suspect they were up to no good. We ate dinner very late. I had already met William Quinn before, and he had even helped me, so I felt quite close to him. After that, I arranged accommodations for William Quinn and his men, but Grant actually went to Tyler Harris's room. A few of us even eavesdropped outside the door for a while, but we couldn't hear anything. Maybe the soundproofing was too good, or maybe, like Mencia said, they took off their clothes and... Back in my little nest, I should have been sleepy, but I couldn't fall asleep, which annoyed me, so I went for a walk by myself. At the door, the security guard greeted me with a smile. I nodded and went outside. The night view was quite beautiful. This place is an economic and tourist zone, with no factories and no emissions. The environment is very good, so you can still see a sky full of stars here. Although it's a very common sight, it's rare in big cities. After strolling for a while, I found a barbecue restaurant near the gate. Since I rarely have free time, I decided to have a drink by myself. "Boss, order." It was an outdoor barbecue restaurant, and there were still quite a few customers at this time. Evening is the golden hour for barbecue. The owner hurried over, and I ordered a few simple dishes. Things are different now. It's not like before. Back in my poor student days during university entrance exam, a bottle of beer and a skewer of meat were a luxury. The atmosphere of the barbecue restaurant was great. I grinned as I looked around. At this moment, I noticed a woman sitting behind me to the right. She was wearing black leather, looking very mysterious, beautiful, and sexy. Moreover, the most important thing was that I had no idea when she arrived. Maybe before me, maybe after, I couldn't remember clearly. As I was lost in thought, the woman noticed me looking at her and turned her head, smiling at me. I turned my head back, smiled apologetically, and then looked away. A moment later, all the food I ordered was served. In the middle of a hot summer night, eating barbecue and drinking beer is truly wonderful. I took a bite of the grilled meat skewer. The taste was delicious. I don't really like sweet food, and for Northeasterners, strong flavors are preferred, or what we call a heavy palate. At this time, a few more people arrived, their hair dyed in various bright colors, or completely shaved. They came to the barbecue restaurant and, seeing no empty tables, glared at the owner. "Hey, Elder Theodore, we come here to eat every day. You can't do this to us. Get us a table quickly. There are 6 of us." The owner forced a smile. "Well, please wait a moment. I'll clear a table for you right away. Just a minute." At this moment, the woman spoke up. "You can take my table." Hearing this, the group noticed the sexy beauty beside them. Indeed, the woman who smiled at me earlier was quite charming. If I were to rate her, I'd give her an 80. Daisy Lane is a 90, and if it's Veronica Tate, she's a perfect 100. Well, my wife is the best, no one compares. One of them's eyes lit up, and he jokingly said, "Oh, beautiful girl, where are you going? Why don't you stay here, and we'll have a few drinks together?" The girl stood up, looked directly at me, and then announced to them, "No need, my boyfriend's here. Didn't see him earlier? My bad, so embarrassing." The thugs immediately glared at me with hostility, but remained silent, only sneering. They probably realized this girl wasn't the type to be out looking for a paid escort. Then, the girl sat down next to me and asked the owner to bring her previous order over. I was instantly on guard. It wasn't because I had some prophetic ability or some vague premonition. I was new to this economic zone, knew only a handful of people, and I absolutely did not know this woman. I took out a cigarette, checking to make sure my gun was still on me. While sipping my beer, I quietly asked the girl beside me, "Is the food here any good?" The girl smiled, filled both our glasses, and replied, "It's all right, just like back in the district. The beer here is good, just a bit pricey." I looked at her. "Seriously? You don't look like someone short on cash. I saw a dress like yours when I was shopping with my girlfriend. It was like, over 2,000 yuan. The girl laughed. "So what? All girls like to look good. Wearing expensive clothes isn't unusual. I'm not some rich guy's mistress. How could I have that kind of money? Can't compare to Ethan." I smiled, inwardly even more astonished. Definitely not simple. I set my glass down and leaned back, easier to draw my gun this way. The girl gave a charming smile. "Don't be so tense. You're amusing." I gave a wry smile and asked, "Do you think I should have come here today?" "You should have." "Why?" The girl lowered her voice, speaking seriously, "Little Lawrence will be in danger today." Then she cheerfully went back to her drink. I was a little surprised. "Why should I believe you? And what does this have to do with me? Whether it concerns you is up to you. Frankly, I'm with Gregory Parks. Everyone knows Theo Parker has backing. You guys understand this situation best. Mr. Phuong doesn't want to disrupt the peace here, but we don't have to get dragged into this war." We're not allies." I thought it over, remaining silent. Seeing my disbelief, the girl continued, "If you don't believe me, fine. Honestly. Alright, I'll give you Mr. Phuong's number. Ask him yourself, or go find him. But I'm warning you, I'm not responsible if you miss out." With that, she took my phone and entered a number. Well, I'm off. I'll visit you again later. Oh, I'm Holly Phoenix. You, kid, good luck. After saying that, she vanished into the night. I weighed the situation. Honestly, this was risky. Who knows? Gregory Parks could double-cross me. But, if this information was true, we'd really miss a chance to pull little Lawrence firmly onto our side. After a moment's thought, I decided to call Gregory Parks first. Hello, who's this? A languid voice drifted from the other end of the line. Hey, Mr. Phuong, it's Ethan Thomas. Oh, a fellow countryman. He was right, we were indeed from the same town. Unexpectedly, he still remembered me after all this time. Well, it makes sense. My buddies and I always went to his karaoke bar, plus that drunken incident. Now that I'm the big boss, he'd naturally investigate me thoroughly, so Gregory Parks's actions weren't surprising. Mr. Phuong still remembers me. Of course, kid. You've done well, rising to become the boss of Henry Page's economic zone. That's a powerful position. I chuckled, nothing special, really. Everyone says I'm just riding on the Thai family's coattails. Mr. Phuong, being the boss is incredibly tough. It's so unfair. I had no other choice, who told me to be so vain? Always worrying about what others say. What do they know? Henry Page, I've always admired him. From what I know, he's very daring, does things ordinary people wouldn't. But don't think he loses every battle. I forced a laugh, then turned serious. Mr. Phuong, you wouldn't screw me over, would you? Oh. Gregory Parks sounded surprised, then suddenly understood my meaning, and said with sudden realization, Oh, I get it. Holly Phoenix came to you, right? You're on your own. Henry Page and I are the same age, we're ostensibly good friends, just with different stances. Good job, kid, you've matured a lot after a few rounds, knowing not to trust those not on your side. But, I'll still tell you, whether to go or not is your decision. I don't want to get involved in this. Little Lawrence will be at the coast tonight to inspect a shipment from you guys. That's all I'll say, the rest is up to you. After that, Gregory Parks hung up. I took a deep breath. I understood, I got the hint, just didn't understand why Gregory Parks didn't tell my hero directly. Perhaps, as he said, he didn't want to get dragged into this conflict. Makes sense, if it were me, I'd protect myself too. Indeed, if it were me, I'd steer clear of trouble too. Little Lawrence receiving our goods, he might very well double-cross us. After all, little Lawrence is now against Theo Parker, he has nothing to fear. And their actions this time could very well sabotage our alliance. What if it's a trap? I couldn't help but sigh inwardly, insidious, this is a truly vicious move. I called the boss over, tossed him a wad of cash, and immediately headed back to Hero. Standing at the entrance, looking at the brightly lit Hero sign, majestic and imposing, I gritted my teeth, vowing inwardly, this Hero is mine, no one can take it. As soon as I stepped inside, I saw William Quinn and Daisy Lane chatting and laughing at the reception desk. It made sense, it was peak hour, the place was packed, Daisy Lane had to be out there managing things. As for William Quinn, he was surely just bored and looking for trouble. Arriving in front of them, the two teased me. Oh my handsome fella has arrived. So late, were you out chasing skirts? How could you wrong me like this? How rude. Even if I were chasing skirts, what's it to you, Daisy Lane? William Quinn mocked, surprised, good heavens, finished already? Bro, were you any good in bed? I felt annoyed. Daisy Lane blushed and asked me in a low voice, were you really no good? Then William Quinn and the others burst out laughing. I got irritated and said loudly, damn it. Do you want us to try it out, maybe tonight? You can touch me all you want. Daisy Lane shyly refused, no need. That look, so damn adorable. I looked at the gloating group and felt bored, ignoring them. Business matters are more important. I immediately pulled William Quinn to a deserted spot. What's up? What's the matter? I was having a pleasant chat with Daisy Lane. I scolded, you bastard, pleasant chat my ass. Gregory Parks just texted, saying little Lawrence is in danger today. Theo Parker is targeting us. Tracy Matthews will have a shipment arriving to Little Lawrence tonight. What do you think we should do? This Gregory Parks, is he trustworthy? William Quinn was startled and asked, is this true? I nodded, of course. I don't know what our relationship with Gregory Parks is like, just tell me if this Gregory Parks is reliable or not. Actually, this is what I'm most concerned about. I'm only half believing Gregory Parks' words. I really don't know what Gregory Parks' attitude is. I have to go through William Quinn. Firstly, this shows my respect. I'm not a dictator. I truly see him as a senior. Even if I'm capable, I'm still new to this world. There are some things I can't analyze as thoroughly as they can. William Quinn thought carefully, then said, regardless of what Gregory Parks is thinking, we can't let our guard down. We can't let him ruin our alliance. Little Lawrence is John 9's representative in the economic zone. John 9 doesn't show his face much, even I haven't met him, but his power in the economic zone is undeniable. This is a crucial moment. We must be cautious. I nodded and said, all right, I'm relieved. I'll call Tracy Matthews and tell him to be careful, then we'll send people over there. We absolutely can't let anything happen. William Quinn smiled and said, I understand what you mean. Actually, you've already thought all this through. You've already come up with these plans. You're asking me just to see what I think, and you also guessed that I would say this. Ethan, you're the boss now. You don't need to ask me at all. I understand what you're doing. I understand you're doing this out of respect for me. You really don't need to. I'm not that petty. Good job. Although you're being polite to me, this kid isn't. Bad. Remember not to do this next time. Whatever it is, just decide for yourself. I was surprised. I didn't expect William Quinn to see through my thoughts. His words also touched me. William Quinn clearly knew what I was afraid of and worried about. He knew that I just lacked a bit of confidence. Clearly, Henry Page gave me enough confidence. I sighed, then chuckled ruefully. Hayes, honestly, I'm under immense pressure. Seriously, I don't know what Henry Page is thinking, putting this much pressure on me. I'm losing confidence, unsure if I can shoulder such a heavy responsibility. I'm a little scared. I really hope everyone can help me. I know this path isn't easy, so I'm really afraid. William Quinn clapped my shoulder, then said with a laugh, what are you afraid of? Want to know what Henry Page is thinking? I'll tell you later. He paused for a moment, then added, young man, don't spend your days sighing. I have faith in you. I laughed heartily, then grabbed my phone and called Tracy Matthews. Hello, Ethan Thomas, what's up? I got straight to the point. Tracy Matthews, we have a shipment to trade with Little Lawrence today, right? Tracy Matthews sounded surprised. How did you know? Tracy Matthews, the escape room might be planning a raid, in other words, a double cross. Tell Little Lawrence now, when is the exchange happening? 2 a.m. Do you want to come? Tracy Matthews asked tentatively. I definitely had to go. Little Lawrence absolutely needed to know about this. This was my chance to bring Little Lawrence completely over to our side. I explained the gravity of the situation to Tracy Matthews. He immediately understood. We're both smart guys, these things don't need to be spelled out. Ironically, I'm the one who's most in the dark. I called Tyler Harris and the others, then assigned them their tasks. At the Hero Entertainment Club, we have our own vehicles. They're all regulars, so I told Tyler Harris, Tommy Stone, Keith Yates, and Paul Nash to each take a car and bring their guys, not really, their guys, more like the parking lot attendants, or security personnel, to put it nicely. 11 p.m. 5 squads in total. William Quinn and I in one car, Tyler Harris and the others each leading a carload of men. I'd given instructions beforehand, absolutely no telling the passengers where we were going. Each rendezvous point had their own people. Who knows if Theo Parker had informants here? The answer is almost certainly yes. Soon, we arrived at the coast, a small, unassuming dock. Not many people around, and no one really in charge. Mostly fishermen or illegal immigrants. But relatively speaking, it wasn't too chaotic. It had to maintain a balance with the government, so this was John Nine's territory. He kept the peace here, and the police looked the other way. We quickly found a stationery store nearby. Not my territory, but my base of operations, convenient for going out to sea. Don't let the remoteness fool you, it had all the necessary equipment. Even tourists came here, though rarely. I told everyone to disperse before arriving. William Quinn reminded me, and I had Tyler Harris and the others confiscate the phones of everyone in their cars. Once here, they were to take their passengers off for some entertainment. I doubt those guys had any clue what was going on. Tracy Matthews saw me enter. There were a few other people in the room. Tracy Matthews gave brief introductions, they all greeted me, and then Tracy Matthews invited me into the back room. Tracy Matthews, has little Lawrence arrived yet? I asked. Tracy Matthews sat down and said, just a little while longer, it should be soon, wait a bit. Then, turning to William Quinn beside her, she added, what's up with your kid? Who were you threatening last night? And why the big sunglasses? I couldn't help but laugh as William Quinn slowly took off his glasses, causing Tracy Matthews, who was drinking Coca-Cola, to spray it out. They chatted for a while, and not long after, little Lawrence arrived. Little Lawrence's appearance was quite surprising. If I hadn't met him under these circumstances, I definitely wouldn't have believed he was the infamous little Lawrence, John Nine's subordinate, the one in charge of the economic zone, a true boss. Little Lawrence looked just like a student, wearing a tracksuit, with an oval face, quite delicate looking. Delicate he was, and not tall, but definitely not handsome. Little Lawrence glanced at me and asked, who is this? Before anyone could introduce me, I extended my hand. Hello, I'm Ethan Thomas. Little Lawrence let out an, oh, his expression one of sudden realization. I've heard of you, he said. Henry Page's newly appointed head of the economic zone. Seeing you today, you're truly a young hero. I smiled. He didn't seem arrogant, and he appeared to be a decent guy. After we shook hands, I noticed how young little Lawrence was, so I said, speaking of young heroes, how can I compare to you? Everyone laughed. This was my first time meeting little Lawrence, but we seemed to get along well. In the days and months that followed, countless ironic events unfolded. There are always unimaginable things that happen in this world. For example, right now, I never thought there would be a day when I would fight alongside him, through thick and thin. As we sat down, little Lawrence asked, Ethan Thomas, you said Theo Parker might cause trouble tonight. Is that true? True or not, we can't take any chances. I can't let this situation lead to any misunderstandings between us, right? You guys go ahead with the transaction, leave the security to me. Little Lawrence chuckled. Heh, I get what you mean. The economic zone is my territory. Not everyone can just waltz in. The balance here can't be broken. We're all the best of the new generation, the future is ours. Theo Parker, I look down on him. I always feel like his focus isn't really on the economic zone. Even though his actions always revolve around it, even if he defeats you guys, the economic zone will still be mine. I'll still be the one calling the shots. He still won't be able to get in. I think Henry Page, Gregory Parks, they all think the same way. The economic zone is a delicious cake, but not everyone can take a bite. For a moment, I didn't understand what little Lawrence meant by those words. The implications were too complex for me to grasp immediately. We chatted for a bit longer, then set off, heading straight for the docks. I also informed my men, telling them to prepare their gear. This time, no matter what, we couldn't let Theo Parker have his way. As I stepped out of the complex, the cold wind howled outside, seemingly foreshadowing the unrest of the night to come. Gripping my coat tighter, I climbed into the car with William Quinn. We weren't going directly to the docks, that would keep little Lawrence safe, but it wouldn't allow us to nab Theo Parker and his crew. My goal wasn't just a smooth transaction for little Lawrence, I wanted him to see that Theo Parker, in his eagerness to swallow us whole, considered him expendable. Everyone in the underworld was watching our war with Theo Parker, each looking out for themselves. Some were saying Parker was a mad dog now, biting anyone close to Henry Page. He could try to bite anyone he wanted, but if he wanted a piece of little Lawrence, he'd better have damn good teeth. My car, with William Quinn and his 3 guys, headed straight for the docks. Grant so I wouldn't shut up the whole way, until Quinn finally lost it, laid into him in the car, and shut him up good. I stationed Paul Nash on the coastal highway. It was a bit of a distance, but if Parker's men showed up, I'd be ready. I positioned Keith Yates behind us, at a barbecue joint not far from the docks. He could provide immediate backup if things went south. The rest of my crew stayed close, not far from the docks. In the distance, I could see figures moving around on the docks. I could even make out little Lawrence and Tracy Matthews, surrounded by a dozen or so men, mostly Lawrence's, with a few of Matthews' own. The wind howled, a biting sea breeze that sent shivers down my spine, but overhead, a bright moon hung like a comforting sun. My phone was clutched in my hand. Truth was, I was tense. I couldn't afford to lose, couldn't let Parker win. If that happened, everything would get messy. Forget little Lawrence trusting us, even if the goods weren't lost, he'd still be uneasy. Just then, my phone rang. My heart jumped. They were here. Ethan, they're here. 4 cars. What do we do? Paul Nash's voice crackled through the phone. Are you sure? I asked carefully. Positive, Paul Nash confirmed. Easy to spot on a night like this. All right, tail them. Don't let them see you. Roger that. Don't worry. I let out a breath. Finally. I was more worried they wouldn't show. Where did Gregory Parks get such accurate intel? William Quinn, beside me, asked, they're here. I nodded. Yeah. Time to cast the net. William Quinn grinned. Easy peasy. I'll take the guys and get ready. You stay back and watch. I'll leave you a few men. Keep an eye on little Lawrence, make sure nothing happens to him. Leave the charging to me. Damn it, Quinn. Don't treat me like a kid. I'm the boss here, remember? Cut the crap. Damn, ignoring me completely. Quinn took Tommy Stone's men, his own guys from the car, and even Tracy Matthews' crew. What the hell was he planning? Whatever. Let him do his thing. Tyler Harris next to me said, William Quinn, the legendary William Quinn. What's he planning? I glanced at him, muttering what? Pay attention later, don't mind William Quinn, he's known for being unconventional, no time to guess his intentions. The guys behind us laughed. I informed Keith Yates, told him to pay attention and observe the situation on our side. I just hung up, and Veronica Tate's phone call came in. Have you forgotten me? As soon as I answered, Veronica Tate questioned me, her voice slightly resentful. I thought, oh no, with my understanding of her, she's definitely angry, but luckily there's still a way out. Normally if she's really mad at me, she won't bother with me. Well, honey, I've been so busy lately that I forgot, I'll be back someday, and then. Bullshit, Veronica Tate cut me off directly, tomorrow is the university entrance exam. I touched my nose, damn, so fast. Then tomorrow, Is tomorrow okay? I thought, if nothing unexpected happens today, then tomorrow I just need to investigate Theo Parker's hideout in the economic zone. This kind of surveillance work can be left to Tyler Harris and the others. At this time, Veronica Tate cried again. I immediately realized and asked, "What's wrong?" Veronica Tate just cried, didn't say anything. "What happened?" I repeated. Veronica Tate thought for a moment, then slowly said, "A few days ago, Theo Parker sent someone to kidnap me." "What?" I roared, startling Tyler Harris and the others. At this moment, Veronica Tate whispered, "I'm sorry, Ethan Thomas, it has involved your brothers." My head buzzed. I asked in confusion, "Who? Are you okay? What happened to them?" Veronica Tate cried again, "Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels. I'm really sorry, if it weren't for them, I might have been taken away." "Hey, honey, wait for me, I'll be right back, go to sleep, wait for me." I hung up because I saw a few cars stop on the beach, and just a minute ago, little Lawrence and we had just finished our transaction. I exhaled. Theo Parker is very good, targeting me again and again, then don't blame me for being unkind. I turned around. Tyler Harris, informed Keith Yates, prepare to close the net. Tyler Harris looked at me and said, "Ethan, you don't seem okay, was that call just now from the young lady of the Thai family?" I smiled. "It's okay, I can adjust. This is not the right time to chat, the people getting out of the cars are very agile and coordinated." As Paul Nash said, a total of 4 cars, about more than 20 people. As soon as they got out of the car, they started fighting, completely targeting our people. I looked at their actions and always felt that they didn't look like they were here for a double cross, but rather like they were completing some kind of mission. Maybe I'm being paranoid. The scene immediately became chaotic, but I didn't see William Quinn. It seems that William Quinn left Tommy Stone behind, but some of the people who came with William Quinn rushed forward. I looked at the chaotic scene, took out my phone and texted Paul Nash, then Paul Nash led people to join the fight. Very quickly, the situation immediately stabilized. It can be said that Theo Parker's people's fighting ability is still very good, it's just that there aren't as many people as us. I watched, a sense of unease creeping into my heart. Could Theo Parker really be content with this? And what about William Quinn? Remembering Veronica Tate's words, I looked up at the sky. The moon was still bright, but my fingertips were undeniably icy. A high, dark night, a night for murder. Theo Parker's men, on the other hand, were completely defenseless. Little Lawrence sat on the sidelines with Tracy Matthews, observing the fight but not participating. Just then, my phone rang. It was Keith Yates. "Ethan, shouldn't we go in and finish this fight quickly?" I pondered, sensing an advantage. They didn't seem to be here to steal goods, but rather to cause chaos. Suddenly, it clicked. Clever move, Theo Parker. "Stay calm," I said. "We can wait. It's fine. Just keep eating your barbecue and don't give anything away." "Yes, I understand." I smiled. Theo Parker was cautious, sending these men as a probe. So, where were his real forces? Fortunately, my men hadn't revealed themselves yet, and our cover was intact. It was William Quinn's situation that truly bothered me. I didn't know where he and his men were hiding, but I was certain he'd also seen through this charade. The current fight was nearing its end, and that's when things took a turn. Not far from the brawl, a fishing boat disgorged a group of about 30 men, their faces masked and armed with knives. No one had expected so many men to be hidden within that inconspicuous, dilapidated boat. Theo Parker definitely had a trick up his sleeve. I tossed my cigarette, thinking about Veronica Tate's words. Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels' fates were unknown, all because of me, and all orchestrated by Theo Parker. Gritting my teeth, I called Keith Yates and Paul Nash. One word, attack. This group of Theo Parkers was clearly different from the previous ones, their skills were far from ordinary. Immediately, another crowd surged from the surroundings. Excellent, William Quinn was making his move. I grinned at Tyler Harris behind me. Let's go, our turn to take the stage. Tyler Harris, equally excited, led the men behind him with a yell, let's go. Slaughter them. I charged in too, reaching the outer ring and slashing at a man's back. He cried out, turned, and seeing my sneak attack, lunged at me with his knife. I barely blocked it, his strength was immense, nearly knocking my own knife from my grip. Without time to think, I dodged his next swing, then aimed a blow at his head. He ducked, and with a swift motion, sliced my arm with the tip of his blade. Pain shot through me, and my knife clattered to the ground. Ethan! Behind you! Someone yelled. Instinctively, I dropped and rolled. Thwack! A knife landed beside my ear, embedding itself in the sand. Someone pulled me up, evading the attacks of two men. I turned with a grin to see Tyler Harris. Let me see, where did you come from? And how did you get hurt? I asked Tyler Harris, noticing a gash on his arm. Tyler Harris rolled his eyes, then while supporting me, stepped back and said, what kind of boss fights like that? I got your back, damn, you're fast, just lack a little strength. Damn it, I know, I'm being looked down on again. Ignoring him, I looked inside, there weren't many people left, but even now, I still didn't see William Quinn. I asked Tyler Harris, where's William Quinn? Tyler Harris shook his head, I don't know. I haven't seen any of the guys who went with him in the car. I only saw Meng Zi and his crew come out. So where did he go? Tyler Harris laughed, who knows where he went, Oi is famous for being unpredictable. I laughed too, whatever, let's finish things here first. I looked around, the group from earlier had started to run away. Everybody freeze, your boss is here. The surroundings immediately fell silent. I saw William Quinn standing on the bow of the ship, dragging a burly man in his 30s, also dressed in black. William Quinn held a gun, then handed the man over to Grant Soai, turns out he took people to scout. William Quinn jumped off the ship laughing, and went to Little Lawrence's side. Little Lawrence had been fighting for a while, covered in blood, and I didn't know whose blood it was. Unexpectedly, Little Lawrence, with his small stature, was also a fierce warrior. William Quinn roared with laughter, drop your weapons. Damn it! The men in black reluctantly dropped their weapons. I stood up and yelled at the crowd, spread out, tie these guys up first. I went to William Quinn's side and said to him with a smile, good job. William Quinn laughed heartily, then waved his hand behind him, and the leader was brought forward. As soon as Tracy Matthews saw this person, he said in surprise, isn't this Darren Lancaster? I asked suspiciously, who is Darren Lancaster? William Quinn replied, one of the 4 Heavenly Kings under Theo Parker, damn it, Heavenly Kings. Disgusting. I smiled and said nothing. At this time, Darren Lancaster said, I want to know, where did you guys get the information? Our operation this time was very secretive. I said, why talk so much nonsense? Darren Lancaster suddenly laughed, heh, Ethan Thomas. Heh, don't get cocky. You guys can't kill me. Just a little pity, it wasn't successful, heh, unexpectedly, it was Little Lawrence himself who came, heh, it seems we were ambushed, it doesn't matter, Hayes, it's just that I want to ask Ethan Thomas something. I sniffed, go ahead. My subordinate, Quincy Lake, is he still alive? I already gave the money to William Quinn, why did everyone else come back, but Quincy Lake is nowhere to be seen. He paused for a moment, then said to William Quinn said before that you were the one who took him, heh, I want to ask, is he still alive? Damn, William Quinn even has his own side hustle. I laughed, call me Ethan. My words made everyone around laugh. Even Tracy Matthews laughed, and Little Lawrence even pointed at me and said, you little rascal are too shameless. I didn't care, just playing around. Darren Lancaster was a little embarrassed, but still called out, Ethan. I nodded, chuckling, and replied, dead. Darren Lancaster closed his eyes, then slowly opened them again, saying, decades of brotherhood, gone just like that. Just then, little Lawrence's phone rang. Hello, what? Little Lawrence's face paled, and he gritted his teeth. I looked at William Quinn, and William Quinn looked at me, neither of us understanding what was happening. Finally, little Lawrence hung up the phone, his face grim. Darren Lancaster, under his intense gaze, asked, just now, were you stalling, afraid I'd kill you? Darren Lancaster laughed, looking at me and saying, Quincy Lake's matters will be settled with you sooner or later. I laughed and said, you'd better not piss me off. What if I just off you right now? Besides, as far as I know, your relationship with Quincy Lake doesn't seem so great, does it? Otherwise, how could you have thrown him into the fire? Oh. Darren Lancaster looked surprised, seemingly astonished by my words. Whatever, you guys can't kill me today anyway. Right, Mr. Law? He then turned his gaze towards little Lawrence, who sighed and said to me, Ethan Thomas, I want to take this guy. Consider it me owing you a favor. Theo Parker's playing a double game, huh? He secretly captured my men, in case this failed. I nodded, understanding his meaning. While we were dealing with them, Theo Parker's people were simultaneously and secretly capturing little Lawrence's men, a double-edged sword. Looking at Darren Lancaster, I regretted not shooting him dead earlier, but now that little Lawrence had spoken up wanting him, I had to give him face. I said, all right, then let it be. You take Darren Lancaster, plus these underlings. They're useless to me anyway. Little Lawrence nodded, saying seriously, thanks for this. If you need anything in the future, just ask. Then he led his people away. Woo-hoo. Fight's over, time to head back to base. William Quinn shouted, and everyone around laughed. I laughed too, calling people to clean up the scene and take the injured to the hospital. Fortunately, we didn't have many casualties, only 5 or 6 seriously injured. I immediately realized this was another expense. I looked towards the brightening east, my mind already elsewhere. Wondering how Veronica Tate and Ryan Lee were doing. Life always has its turning points, perhaps mistakes, or dangers. But after all that glory and peril, I still have no regrets. However, now I really don't know what the outcome will be. Sometimes, when confusion and helplessness hit, I truly feel like I'm still just a kid. There are times when I wake up startled in the middle of the night. I wake up with this urge to cry. But, even though I'm this bewildered, my inner resolve remains unshaken. Moreover, I understand that this is fate, and I can't escape it. Everyone got into the cars one after another. I said goodbye to William Quinn and then got into a car with Paul Nash and Keith Yates, heading straight for the economic zone. Sitting in the car, I thought a lot. Ryan Lee was injured again, what would happen? Was Veronica Tate hurt? I've gradually realized that ever since I stepped into this vicious cycle, I've been burying the seeds of disaster. It causes me endless suffering. Ethan, what are we doing? Keith Yates glanced at me, dazed, and asked. I snapped out of it, then said with a wry smile, my girlfriend was attacked, my brothers were injured, does this count as a big deal? Keith Yates was stunned, then slowly said, it's a big deal, this is unavoidable. Stepping into this circle, you have to bear these things. If you can't endure it, then you've lost. You know. This isn't the first time. I remember the first time, my reaction was strong. The first time I killed someone, Quincy Lake died just like that. I don't know why I told them these things. They all remained silent. Finally, Paul Nash concluded, if you don't want this to happen again, then make yourself stronger, strong enough to protect them. I smiled. Even if I don't have immense strength, I still have to protect them. By the time we reached the county town, it was already dawn. On the streets, vendors were hawking their goods, commuters were biting into their bread, hurriedly waving for taxis. This county town's traffic needs improvement. This congestion is embarrassing. Taking advantage of the traffic jam, I called Veronica Tate. Hello. Babe, what are you doing? Pfft. Paul Nash next to me spat out a mouthful of soy milk. Huh. When did he buy soy milk? Oh, I get it. This dude took advantage of the traffic jam to buy it on the roadside. Veronica Tate said breathlessly, what can I be doing? Today's the university entrance exam. I sniffled. Why is it the university entrance exam? Why didn't my homeroom teacher tell me anything? Damn it, so irresponsible. Oh, what time is your exam? When are you finished? I'll pick you up. Noon, 12 o'clock. Are you here already? Yeah, good luck. Don't worry. I'm fine. Veronica Tate sounded unhappy. You definitely drove all night to get here, didn't you? Yeah, it's fine. After chatting for a bit, the traffic started moving, so I hung up. The car quickly arrived at the hospital Veronica Tate mentioned. At the hospital, I found a nurse to treat the wound on my arm. Fortunately, it wasn't too deep, but my previous clothes were unwearable. I casually stripped off Paul Nash's windbreaker and put it on. The summer mornings are quite chilly, so Paul Nash had to begrudgingly wear my torn jacket. After everything was taken care of, I dared to enter Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels' hospital room, because I didn't want them to see my battered state. I pushed the door open. Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels were arguing over breakfast. Yo, what's up? I said with a smile as I entered. The two turned to look at me, stunned for a moment, then continued eating. I clicked my tongue. They're ignoring me. Paul Nash and Keith Yates behind me started snickering. Speechless, I walked over and smacked Ryan Lee on the head, scolding, damn it, you don't see me here. Eat. Eat shit. Ryan Lee retorted, damn it, I saw you, but you didn't bring any food. I sat down on the bed. Both of them were still in their hospital gowns. Ryan Lee, having stopped eating, turned to me and asked, why are you here? Who are these two? I pointed at Keith Yates and Paul Nash. Keith Yates, Paul Nash, come with me. Ryan Lee laughed. Does Henry Page really see you as his leader? I gave a wry smile and nodded. Victor Daniels, from beside him, said, Veronica Tate told you, didn't she? That girl. I stood up and told Keith Yates and Paul Nash, you two go back. After you've rested, go with Tommy Stone and Tyler Harris to investigate that matter. Remember, just the few of you, understand? I spoke indirectly, but they definitely understood. It wasn't that I didn't trust Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels, but it was better if they knew less about this matter. After they left, probably quite exhausted, I lay down on the bed and asked, what exactly happened? Ryan Lee looked at me and said, after school that day, Victor Daniels and I went to pick up our university entrance exam certificates. That's how we ran into this. If it weren't for that guy named William Quinn. I think that's him, I remember Veronica Tate calling him that. If he hadn't shown up, I'm not sure anything would have happened. William Quinn. Why didn't he tell me? Ryan Lee continued, they were targeting Veronica Tate. Luckily, she left school with us that day. Otherwise, William Quinn wouldn't have been able to save her in time. I looked at Ryan Lee. He didn't seem to be injured, just a bandaged arm. Victor Daniels, on the other hand, had a bandage wrapped around his head. I fought back the tears. It was all my fault. Theo Parker wanted to take me down. Without Veronica Tate, I'm nothing. I understand this, and so do Ryan Lee and the others. I said with a bitter smile, tell me, did I do the right thing? You guys doing this, what am I supposed to do? I don't want my mates clearing the path for me. Doing this, how can I ever repay this kindness? Stop. Victor Daniels interrupted me. Alright, damn it. We didn't tell you because we were afraid you'd come here and whine. What's with all the drama? Ryan Lee laughed, raising his fist as he said, Brothers United. Victor Daniels and I exchanged smiles, then raised our fists, bumping them together, and shouted, United we stand. Then we all burst out laughing. I laughed too, genuinely happy. I remember every time we're like this, no explanations, no words, just mutual respect. Saying we have similar personalities is less accurate than saying, birds of a feather flock together. We chatted about a lot of things I didn't know about at school. Only with them could I feel true joy, without confusion, responsibility, or pressure. After a while, Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels insisted on being discharged. It seemed they weren't going to be allowed to leave until they were fully recovered. I then completed their discharge procedures. Seeing that they were physically alright, the doctor agreed. As a result, Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels were both cheerful. They changed into a set of clothes. Ryan Lee didn't say anything, but the huge bandage on Victor Daniels' head was quite eye-catching. Fortunately, Victor Daniels was thick-skinned enough not to care. Leaving the hospital gates, Ryan Lee roared with laughter, I'm finally out of there. Like he just got sprung from the joint. I laughed, slinging my arms around Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels. My treat, fellas. Everything's on me today. Right on. The rest of us had nothing to do. Everyone else was taking the university entrance exam. Eric Fields and Mason Todd were both gone. They wanted to go to uni, but who knows if they'll get in. Those two never brought their books to class, and if they did, they never went to class. No need to guess how that'll turn out. With nothing better to do, we headed to the internet cafe next to the school. Like clockwork, we fired up 3 machines. We were regulars there, so the owner greeted us right away. Well, if it ain't Ethan Thomas. What ya been up to? Haven't seen you around lately. I grinned. Studying for the university entrance exam. The owner feigned annoyance. Get outta here. The university entrance exam is today. What's there to study for now? Everyone around us burst out laughing, even the other gamers. Then the owner looked at Victor Daniels next to me, his eyes widening. Who did this kid get into a scrap with now? I told you guys to stay out of trouble. What am I gonna do with you lot? You gotta study hard now, or what are you gonna do later in life? Sigh, you kids. We all groaned in unison. You're ruining our reputation, man. We quickly found our machines and started playing CS. It was alright. Ryan Lee wasn't bad, but he kept bossing everyone around. Hey, Ethan. What are you doing? Idiot, he's at the back door. Damn it, switch weapons, ditch the sniper. Damn it, you got killed. Get up. Damn it, I was so frustrated. I was getting completely wrecked. How was I supposed to get up? I had no choice but to switch teams and join Victor Daniels. Ryan Lee kept pounding me and called me a traitor. I ignored him. He just loved bossing people around. Around 11 o'clock, we left the internet cafe and headed back towards school. Damn it, I had a bad game today. Damn it, nobody was playing with me. Ryan Lee grumbled, even after we were out the door. I shot back, look who's talking. You're always bossing everyone around. Are you that good? We wouldn't have lost if it weren't for your lousy calls. And you call me a traitor? Go die yourself. I was getting more and more riled up. Ryan Lee flew into a rage and charged at me. I quickly yelled, Victor Daniels, do something. Victor Daniels laughed and joined the fray. The outcome was clear. Right there on the main street, Victor Daniels and I gave Ryan Lee a good thrashing. Ryan Lee lay sprawled on the ground, gritting his teeth. Fine, you two are so tough. We both laughed, ignoring him and the stares of passers-by. That's just how we were. We cared about our reputation, but we still did what we wanted. We didn't care what people said. If other people said something was good, it didn't mean it was. If we said it was good, then it was truly good. At the school gate, tons of parents were waiting for their kids who were battling it out inside. The university entrance exam, who knows how many people were fighting back tears. I suddenly felt a pang of emptiness. If I hadn't chosen this path, would I be like those students in there? Would my parents be standing at the school gates cheering me on like that? Soon, the university entrance exam ended, and students poured out of the school, chattering about the test. I just found it funny, no matter how much they analyzed it, it wouldn't change anything. It was done. I stood up, laughing heartily. Waiting all day, it was finally over. Let's go, time to pick up my wife. I nudged Ryan Lee, who was sitting on the ground. Ryan Lee glanced at me, ignoring me completely. I didn't bother with him either. I walked into the crowd, searching for Veronica Tate. After searching for a while, I finally spotted a beautiful figure in the crowd, wearing a dress and high heels. Ahem, honestly, her wearing high heels puts a little pressure on me, even though I'm 6 feet tall. I'd better hurry over there. Wouldn't be good if someone got fresh with her in this crowd. In the crowd, Veronica Tate and a classmate, hand in hand, were also looking around. I smiled and walked over, suddenly hugging her from behind. Veronica Tate yelped in surprise, then seeing it was me, quickly pulled away, hitting me lightly. I thought it was some perv getting bold, turns out it's just you, you big flirt. Her friend giggled, covering her mouth. Hee hee, you don't know, she keeps saying you're heartless, worried you'll run off with someone else. I smiled and asked Veronica Tate, really? Veronica Tate blushed, denying it. No. Then she said to her friend, I'm going now, you have fun, humph. The classmate smiled and waved goodbye. I pulled Veronica Tate out of the crowd. Before, when we walked together, I always held her hand. This time, she took my arm. Looking at her sweet smile, I realized I didn't need much. Just having the one I love by my side, what more could I ask for? Whoa there. Look away, look away. No peeking, no touching. Ryan Lee, seeing us approach, sat sprawled on the ground, his voice dripping with mock jealousy. I laughed and kicked him lightly. What are you talking about? Want to be on, to catch a predator? Aren't you afraid you'll blow out all the girls' lights as soon as you step on stage? No, fry them completely. My words made everyone around us laugh, while Ryan Lee sulked off to the side, drawing circles on the ground. Veronica Tate, still laughing, asked me, why did you let them go already? Are their wounds healed? Look at Victor Daniels, he looks just like a little white rabbit. I thought for a moment. A white rabbit? That sounded odd. I put my arm around her waist and asked, what time is your exam this afternoon? 3 o'clock. Where are you taking me this afternoon? I laughed heartily and called out to Ryan Lee and Victor Daniels, let's go, let's go. Guidu Hotel, it's on me today. Ryan Lee, having just finished drawing his circle, rolled his eyes and looked up at me. Hey, aren't we waiting for Eric Fields and the others? Got a wife and forgot your brothers, huh? Victor Daniels chimed in, oh man, Ethan, you're hopeless. Brothers before hoes, man, it's tragic. Why am I even friends with you? I gave a strained smile, then fell silent, continuing to wait. I called them both, and learned they were planning to unwind at the internet cafe, but when I mentioned a treat, they didn't hesitate to rush over. However, Eric Fields' first words were, didn't you say we were going to eat? What are you just standing around for? Damn it, aren't I waiting for you? The whole crew took a taxi straight to the Grand National Hotel, only a 3-star hotel, but its reputation wasn't small. When we arrived, we booked a private room. Everyone was cheerful, especially me. It had been a while since I'd seen them, and the past few days had been too much to bear. The food was served, and our pack of wolves began to devour it. Midway, Veronica Tate received a call from her mother. Knowing I was with her, she was reassured, but added a few more reminders before hanging up. The previous incident must have worried her mother sick. When Veronica Tate returned after the call, she saw the table in a chaotic mess and exclaimed in surprise, "You guys, you're a pack of wolves indeed. I was only gone for 5 minutes, and you've already devoured everything." I barely had a bite. Seeing Veronica Tate's disappointment, I found it incredibly amusing. I cheerfully ordered a few more dishes to satisfy these wolves. When the food arrived, I quickly piled food onto Veronica Tate's plate, otherwise, these wolves would devour everything. Again. Veronica Tate saw everything and gave me a greasy kiss on the cheek, and I chuckled. Not long after, we were all full. The group started chatting and drinking. And just then, there was a knock on the door. Eric Fields was about to open the door, but I stopped him and called out, "Who is it?" The person outside didn't answer, and then everyone in the room fell silent. I glanced at Ryan Lee and whispered in his ear, "You open the door later. I'll be ready." Ryan Lee thought for a moment, then nodded. The two of us stood up. Veronica Tate grabbed my hand, biting her lip. I smiled, kissed her on the cheek, and said, "Wait for me. It's okay, don't be afraid." Veronica Tate thought for a moment, then said, "I'm not afraid. Be careful." I smiled and then drew the gun from my waistband. At the door, I winked at Ryan Lee. Then, Ryan Lee placed one hand on the doorknob and held up 3 fingers with the other, starting the countdown. I released the safety on the gun, gripping it tightly in my hand. When Ryan Lee counted to 1, the door was flung open, and I quickly aimed my gun at the person outside. But when I saw who it was, I was utterly surprised. Before my eyes stood a seductive woman in a black leather jacket and sunglasses, grinning at me. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. Then I holstered my gun. Everyone in the room breathed a sigh of relief. This person was none other than the alluring woman I had met that night. Holly Phoenix, an underling of Gregory Parks. William Quinn told me Holly Phoenix is Gregory Parks's informant. Her whereabouts are mysterious, she's skilled in disguise, and it's not easy to meet her unless she wants to find you. Holly Phoenix is young, around 20, no one knows her background, and she has always been in charge of intelligence for Gregory Parks. Holly Phoenix told me to invite her in, and after closing the door, she took off her sunglasses, revealing a delicate face. "I just happened to be passing by, don't be suspicious." Holly Phoenix sat down and spoke slowly. Ryan Lee and I also sat down, the others remained silent, probably aware that this woman was no ordinary person. I smiled, filled Holly Phoenix's glass with wine, and said, "Isn't it an honor for me to have such an elusive, important figure like Holly Phoenix drop by my place?" "Indeed, because I can make you lose a lot of things, and I can also make you gain a lot of things." I looked up at her, and Holly Phoenix, seeing this, smiled and asked, "What? Don't you believe me?" I scoffed but said nothing. Veronica Tate, beside me, held my arm tightly, a strange look in her eyes. Holly Phoenix, seeing this, smiled and said, "I came here this time to tell you to take care of the things you consider precious. Theo Parker is a fugitive." "Why?" A bright smile spread across Holly Phoenix's face, "No reason. I'm just giving you a little heads up, it doesn't count as intel." "How should I put it?" "I simply want to help you, it has nothing to do with Mr. Phuong." I raised my glass and clinked it with hers, took a sip of wine, and smiled, saying, "Holly Phoenix, I really don't know what you're thinking, but I'm not stupid. So, I'll believe everything you say, but why do I have this feeling that you're pushing me into a pit?" "Huh, you're a smart person. I won't act on the intel you gave me, but I'm very grateful for it. However, this gratitude can't turn me, or even hero, Henry Page, into a hitman. Gregory Parks doesn't have the guts to do these things, and I won't follow his path and probe around. If the probing goes well, then fine, but if it fails, tell me, who do I turn to? I can't exactly look for you, can I? You're so elusive. After speaking, I carefully observed Holly Phoenix's expression, and from her eyes, I saw surprise. After a while, Holly Phoenix smiled wryly and said, I knew it, this guy is no ordinary person. Huh, you're more mature than I imagined. Indeed, your thinking is very sharp, but a bit too much. Mr. Kwong really wouldn't dare to get involved easily, but it's not to the point of being so hateful as to use you as a pawn. We just want to help you guys secretly, for no other reason. I shook my head and laughed. Why did I feel that the meaning was almost the same? Holly Phoenix then left me her phone number and said she had to go, and I didn't try to keep her. As I saw her to the door, she told me, I sincerely want to help you. Then she explained, this sentence represents my personal feelings and has nothing to do with Gregory Parks. I just smiled. I don't know why, but it was a little hard to believe that the infamous blood Holly Phoenix said she wanted to help me. After seeing Holly Phoenix off, I returned to the table and found everyone staring at me. Eric Fields and Mason Todd were both grinning. Veronica Tate pinched me hard, making me yelp, hey, what was that for? Veronica Tate angrily asked, how do you even know her? Confused, I replied, I don't know her. Don't talk. Nonsense. Veronica Tate rolled her eyes. Fine, don't tell me. But let me tell you, a woman's intuition is never wrong. She's definitely interested in you. You better watch out. I can't control you anymore, and I know you're under a lot of pressure. I don't want to add to it, but you have to give me some face. Don't make me keep nagging you. I don't want to be like that, understand? I hugged her. I understand. Don't worry. This woman isn't simple. I'm already wary of her. Don't overthink it. Ryan Lee chimed in, Ethan, you gotta be careful. This woman seems shady. Best to keep your distance. Eric Fields sighed. Ethan, you're carrying a gun now. That's dangerous. You seem really dangerous now, like you're playing with fire. I let go of Veronica Tate and grabbed some food. They were all full, but I was still starving. After a long silence, I said, it is dangerous. But with a gun, I feel safer. Heh, to protect the people I want to protect, killing someone is nothing. Victor Daniels chuckled. Come on, are you all scared now? It's all right. Ethan's the big boss now. What else should a big boss carry if not a gun? It's fine, really. But hey, Ethan, I have a question for you. What? How much money do you have now? Victor Daniels asked cautiously. I didn't mind. I had nothing to hide from them. After I give everyone their bonuses, I'll probably have around 5 million left. What? They were all surprised. After all, 5 million wasn't a small amount, especially for students like us. Eric Fields exclaimed, holy crap. As expected of the big boss. This doesn't even make you poor. Hey, how about you buy me a new computer? What a shameless bastard. We left the hotel afterward. Veronica Tate and the others had their university entrance exams that afternoon. Veronica seemed pensive as we walked out. I knew she was worried about me, and her anxiety was understandable. After seeing Veronica Tate off and promising to pick her up later that evening, I decided to stay. Holly Phoenix's words had made me cautious. I'd learned my lesson from the previous incident. I'd wait until their exams were over and then take them to the economic zone. It was safer there. Theo Parker's influence wasn't strong enough to operate openly in that area. Holly Phoenix's words were probably just a guess, but I chose to believe her. It wouldn't hurt. Besides, there were more places to hang out in the economic zone, and I genuinely wanted to spend time with Veronica Tate. I was under a lot of pressure, and she was constantly worried. I told Ryan Lee and the others my thoughts, and they didn't object. They knew it wasn't safe for them to stay in my district. As for Veronica Tate, she said being with me was enough, which I was happy about. After all, I had plenty of free time at the Hero Entertainment Club. That afternoon, the three of us who weren't taking the university entrance exam continued to hang out. We didn't wander around aimlessly, just hit the internet cafe for a bit, then went back to our little hideout to, watch some blockbuster movies. Looking at our little hideout, I suddenly felt like life was so much better before. In the evening, I went to pick up Veronica Tate from school. The school gate was still packed with people, and there were many police officers maintaining order. I couldn't help but sigh, wondering how many students would be shedding tears. This is the Chinese education system: scores represent everything, diplomas represent status. And out in society, those who can't find jobs are precisely those who wasted their youth in school. I don't know if this can be considered a kind of sorrow. Not long after, Veronica Tate came out of the school. I had promised to take her home, which was practically my own request. After all, since I was back, it would seem a little rude not to go and chat with my future father-in-law. Holding Veronica Tate's hand, I hailed a cab directly to her house, a villa in the suburbs. As soon as we reached the door, a big dog barked ferociously at me, scaring me stiff. Damn it, I'd have to deal with this dog later when I got the chance. Otherwise, what would I do in the future? Veronica Tate covered her mouth, giggling. What's wrong with you? Are you traumatized or something? Speechless, I ignored her, refusing to admit it. I was the head of the economic zone, how could I be afraid of a dog? Nonsense. Veronica Tate went inside, patted the dog's head, and said, "Honey, don't bite." In broad daylight, this lecher wouldn't dare. Good heavens. Looking at this shameless dog, I was annoyed and couldn't help but curse, "You bastard." Ignoring the dog issue, I followed Veronica Tate into the villa. In the first-floor hall, Veronica Tate's mother was watching TV. Seeing Veronica Tate enter, she smiled and asked, "So, how did the exam go today?" Veronica Tate replied bluntly, "I told Mom you'd arrange for someone to get me in. I probably failed." At this moment, Veronica Tate's mother noticed me and stood up, saying, "Ethan, you're here. Are you settling in okay over there?" Oh, I still don't agree with her father sending her over there so early. At least he should have waited until after the university entrance exam. Veronica Tate couldn't help but laugh. "Come on, Mom, with him, whether he takes the exam or not, the result is the same." I was so frustrated. I might as well have taken the exam, maybe I would have passed and opened this girl's eyes. I smiled and greeted her mother. She was very friendly and called the housekeeper to prepare dinner. This enthusiasm made me a little embarrassed and nervous. I tried my best to behave, which made Veronica Tate keep whispering that I was putting on an act. Her mother seemed to notice my awkwardness and excused herself, which made me breathe a sigh of relief. Veronica Tate smiled and hugged my arm. Yeah, she was starting to let loose too. At this time, Bennett Tate returned, looking haggard and tired, his eyes slightly red, as if he had been drinking. Veronica Tate stepped forward and asked, "Dad, where have you been? Why are you so drunk?" Bennett Tate hugged Veronica Tate affectionately and asked with a smile, "How was the university entrance exam?" "I've been so busy lately, I almost forgot about it." Veronica Tate stuck out her tongue and said cutely, "Oh, why do you keep asking about that? You're already preparing to find someone for me, I probably failed." Bennett Tate said, "Who told you not to study properly? Just come and work at the company, don't study anymore, follow Ethan." Veronica Tate asked excitedly, "Really?" Bennett Tate paused for a moment, then patted Veronica Tate's head. Keep dreaming, kid. At this time, I also got up from the sofa and greeted, hello, uncle. Bennett Tate smiled and nodded, then sat down on the sofa, gesturing for me to sit down as well, and asked, so, how are you settling in over there? I smiled and nodded, then said, it's all right. It was a little unfamiliar at first, but I'm used to it now. Bennett Tate smiled, I've heard about your situation. Henry Page came by yesterday and told me about it. Well done. Henry Page and I certainly didn't misjudge you. This kid, intelligent, careful, and works seriously. Very good. Uncle, please don't praise me anymore, I'm embarrassed. Bennett Tate smiled. At this moment, Veronica Tate's mother called us in for dinner. So I had dinner with Bennett Tate. At the dinner table, Bennett Tate was also very cheerful, having a few drinks with me. I didn't try to stop him, knowing he had already been drinking. Looking at the silver strands in his hair, I really felt that he had aged, and still had so many things to worry about. It's not easy. After dinner, Veronica Tate and her mother watched TV in the living room, while I followed Bennett Tate into his study. In the study, Bennett Tate told me to sit down, then rubbed his temples and slowly said, what's the situation in the economic zone? I couldn't ask earlier with Veronica there. I said, you shouldn't overwork yourself, uncle. You're getting older. I can't help it. These days are crucial. Our superiors aren't doing well. That police captain, Daniel Trent, you've met him. He's completely against us, very troublesome. He's fine, but he causes a lot of trouble for us, which is something I don't want to see. I said, the economic zone is currently stable. Overall, there are no major problems. Moreover, just yesterday, I completely pulled little Lawrence over to our side. Now, he's definitely on our team. So, the economic zone is relatively stable. After all, little Lawrence still holds power there, a relatively large force. Bennett Tate said, that's good. I also know about yesterday's events. Generally speaking, I'm relatively at ease about that side. Currently, what we lack is manpower. Fortunately, you're able to gain a foothold over there, so I don't need to worry. I asked, I heard that the situation in our county town isn't very optimistic. Could it be that Henry Page still hasn't resolved the situation here? He should have, right? His subordinates, Lu Han and Chin Mu Tian, are both talented individuals. Bennett Tate lit a cigarette, offered me one, and said, the so-called not optimistic situation here mainly refers to the company. Currently, our company is indeed losing money. Moreover, the higher-ups keep coming for inspections. The money from the underworld can't be laundered to support the company. This is like pulling the rug out from under us. Once the legitimate business fails, the underworld has no way to support it. After all, the underworld is even more costly. I thought for a moment, then said, this must be Theo Parker's backing. I want to know what kind of ace up his sleeve this Theo Parker has, hiding so mysteriously. Bennett Tate laughed, there's no mystery. Theo Parker is just a dog, a small-time thug. Any money he has comes from the person backing him, and that person is Michael Warren. What? I stood up in shock. Bennett Tate chuckled, calm down, kid. What's the big deal? I sat back down and asked, the owner of Red Horizon. Isn't he a big businessman? And isn't his company listed? Yeah, that's right. There are no real businessmen, heh. That's just how society is. Where can you go to find reason? No one's clean. The economic zone is a prime cut of meat, and he has to use me, this breakthrough point. Why target us? Bennett Tate said, because Gregory Parks isn't easy to touch. Plus, if I'm eliminated, little Lawrence will definitely feel threatened, and so will Gregory Parks. Then, who in the whole county would dare to oppose him? At that point, he can slowly infiltrate, put in a few puppets, and gradually take the next step. This is the simplest and most direct method. The difference between us and Gregory Parks is that my focus is the county, while his isn't. Kicking him out of the county wouldn't affect Gregory Parks at all. It dawned on me, in other words, what Michael Warren wants right now is the county, not the economic zone. Bennett Tate nodded, smiling. Exactly. I just gave you a little nudge, and you understand. I couldn't help but feel a secret dread. This Michael Warren was truly a schemer. I looked at Bennett Tate and suddenly thought of something. Uncle, I said, I want to bring Veronica Tate over to our place. It's too chaotic here. Bennett Tate thought for a moment, then said, all right, I was thinking the same thing. That girl's still running around everywhere. The situation here isn't good right now. Michael Warren and Theo Parker, one in the light, one in the dark, make them hard to guard against. Take her. I only have this one daughter, and all my thoughts are on her. Take your little crew along too. They're not bad. Besides, if it weren't for them, something might have already happened to Veronica Tate. Take them all. I nodded. It was true, as soon as I spoke, Bennett Tate knew what I wanted to do. Bennett Tate continued, we can't neglect the economic zone either. I know it's not easy for you, you're still so young. That's why Henry Page hasn't called Adrian Grant and the others back. Since Michael Warren wants the county, let him have it. The economic zone is our backing, and we absolutely can't lose it. Otherwise, we won't have a chance to turn things around. You understand this, right? I nodded. If I didn't understand this, what was I even doing in this world? Looking at Bennett Tate's tired body, I felt a pang of sympathy. He was so old, yet he still had to worry about us youngsters. I could see that Bennett Tate had no ambitions now, only wanting to pave the way for his daughter and for Henry Page. So, I didn't disturb him any longer and went out. In the living room, Veronica Tate was sitting on the sofa. I thought she was still watching TV, but when I looked closely, I realized that although the TV was on, she had fallen asleep, her hand propping up her head as she leaned against the sofa. I looked at her, smiled, and walked over. This girl was definitely waiting for me here, I just didn't expect to be gone so long. I put my arms around her and gently said, little pig, wake up, it's time for the university entrance exam. Veronica Tate slowly opened her eyes, murmuring, wah, I'm definitely going to fail. Dad's gonna yell at me again. Hearing that, I burst out laughing, then hugged her and said, let's go back to your room, it's cold here. Veronica Tate smiled and said, you have to carry me back. I don't want to move. Why are you so lazy? I like it that way. Are you going to carry me or not? Carry her. Of course. How could I refuse such a good offer? I picked her up. Her room was on the second floor. Luckily, she wasn't too heavy. Veronica Tate giggled in my arms. I placed her on the bed and carefully tucked her in. Veronica Tate blushed and said, I haven't changed into my pajamas yet. Are you going to let me sleep like this? I smiled, don't tell me you want me to change you. No. Veronica Tate said shyly. I said, go to sleep. After the exam tomorrow, come to the economic zone with me. Then I can be with you every day. Veronica Tate smiled and nodded, looking at me dreamily. I couldn't help but kiss her on the lips. This kiss was innocent enough, but Veronica Tate responded passionately, making my mind go blank. I couldn't resist reaching into her shirt, caressing every inch of her skin. Just as I was about to lose control, Veronica Tate gasped, shyly saying, not here. My parents are home. It's not right. I nodded. Although a little disappointed, I knew this wasn't the place. If Bennett Tate threw me out the window, I'd be done for. So, I just kissed her, adjusted my clothes, and left the room. At that moment, I had no idea that as I walked out, in a hidden corner, Veronica Tate's mother was smiling contentedly. I found a random room and fell onto the bed, my mind racing with thoughts. I developed this habit lately, always thinking about so many things before sleep. Outsiders say I got this position through connections with women, but no one knows the suffering in my heart. I have such strong self-esteem, these rumors are truly unbearable. It's like an invisible hand in the darkness, gripping me tightly. I struggle, but I can't find any leverage. This torment is more painful than being stabbed twice. But every time I feel this way, I find an excuse to comfort myself. I love Veronica Tate. Every time I think that, my heart feels much lighter, and everything seems worthwhile. For the woman I love, so what? Should I give up the girl I love for my cheap self-esteem? I believe if I did that, I would despise myself. Lost in these thoughts, I drifted off to sleep without realizing it. The next morning, I personally took Veronica Tate to school, then went to find Ryan Lee and the others. In the afternoon, I told Ryan Lee to pack up, we would leave that night. When Veronica Tate finished her exam, I planned to leave immediately, but she said she wanted to go home and pack. I shook my head inwardly. Women are such troublesome creatures. There was no other way, I had to go home with her. She packed a lot of stuff. Bennett Tate gave me a long list of instructions, then finally asked, "Ethan, have you bought a car yet?" Seeing me shake my head, Bennett Tate said, "Why not? Didn't last month's accounts come in already?" I chuckled and replied, "They did, and I do have the money now. It's just that this is a crucial time, and I'm afraid I might need the money, so I don't dare spend it recklessly." Bennett Tate laughed heartily, "You'll have a lot to do later on, you can't always be taking taxis. Go to the garage, that kid, Little Sue, just grab the keys and take whichever one you like." I suddenly smiled, not standing on ceremony. I followed Little Sue's servant to the garage, looked around for a while, and finally chose a BMW 5 Series. I knew this one must be over $1 million. Glancing at the Lexus next to it, I thought, better not take something too expensive. This BMW is probably suitable for my status, ahem. I asked Little Sue for the keys, then, with Veronica Tate in the car, slowly drove out. My driving skills were completely amateur. Bennett Tate, seeing us get in the car, asked, "Do you know how to drive?" I thought for a moment, then nodded. Then I stepped on the gas and yanked the steering wheel, the car shooting out of the main gate just in time. In the rearview mirror, I saw Bennett Tate smile with satisfaction.